Aaron grew up in one of those crowded Filipino neighborhoods where every house is close enough for neighbors to hear each other's arguments, laughter, and dreams. His family didn't have a lot, but they had love, and they believed in holding on to hope even when life made that difficult. His mother woke up before sunrise to set up her small vegetable stall at the market, while his father worked late into the night repairing tricycles just to keep food on the table. Aaron helped by singing on the streets after school. Some days he made enough for rice, some days he made nothing at all. But every time someone stopped and listened, every time a child smiled or an elder closed their eyes to feel his voice, Aaron felt something greater than poverty. He felt purpose. He told himself that his voice was the only thing that could take him beyond the life he knew. One night, while singing his favorite Filipino ballad near the bay, a foreign tourist recorded him. Aaron didn't think much of it. People filmed him all the time but nothing ever happened. But days later, his world changed. The video went viral, not just in the Philippines but across the world. Within a week, he received an unexpected email from America's Got Talent inviting him to audition in Los Angeles. Aaron stared at the message for hours, afraid it was fake, afraid to believe in something so big. His parents looked at the email, then at him, and told him gently, "This is God opening a door." But they had no money for passports, no money for the flight, not even enough for the bus to Manila. When the community heard about the invitation, everything changed. People who barely had enough for themselves still gave whatever they could: coins, bills, old savings, even items to sell. His teacher started a donation box. Neighbors organized a small fundraising show. Strangers messaged online offering a little help. By the end of the week, Aaron held enough to travel. He cried as he hugged his parents before boarding the plane. He had never flown before, never seen a city outside his own. As the plane lifted from the ground, he pressed his forehead to the window and whispered, "Please let me make them proud." Los Angeles was nothing like home. It felt too big, too fast, too bright. Aaron checked into a tiny hostel, sharing a room with backpackers who didn't know anything about AGT but smiled at him kindly. He survived on cheap noodles and bread because he wanted to save every dollar. When he arrived at the AGT audition venue, he froze. The building looked like something from a dream. People in fancy clothes, singers with vocal coaches, dancers practicing routines, everyone looked like they belonged. Aaron, wearing his simple shirt and frayed shoes, felt like he didn't. But he reminded himself why he came. He stepped into the producer audition room, took a deep breath, and began singing a Filipino song that carried the weight of his struggles and dreams. The producers didn't expect his voice. They didn't expect the power, the softness, the emotion, all wrapped into this shy boy with nothing but sincerity in his eyes. They whispered to each other before one of them told him, "You're going straight to the judges." Aaron felt the world tilt beneath him. Minutes later, he stood on the real AGT stage, facing the judges he had only watched on television. The bright lights hit his face, the crowd stared, and all he could hear was his heartbeat. Simon asked gently, "What brings you here?" Aaron swallowed, looked down, then looked back up with honesty shining through him. "I came here with nothing but hope," he said. And the moment he said it, the entire room went silent, waiting, because everyone could feel something special was about to happen. When the music began for Aaron's audition, the room shifted into a stillness that felt almost sacred. The first notes were gentle, almost fragile, like a whisper of where he came from. Aaron closed his eyes, not because he was nervous but because he wanted to pour every piece of himself into the moment. He imagined his mother at her vegetable stall, his father wiping grease from his hands, the neighbors who had given their coins and their prayers so he could stand on that stage. And then he let his voice go. What came out wasn't the voice of a scared teenager but the voice of someone who had carried struggle, sadness, and hope through every day of his life. It was powerful but trembling, raw but beautiful, rising with emotion that didn't need translation. Within seconds, people in the audience were nudging each other, leaning forward, whispering, "Who is this kid?" Halfway through the song, Aaron hit a note so pure and high that Heidi covered her mouth in disbelief. Sophia grabbed Howie's arm. Even Simon, who rarely showed emotion early, lifted his chin, studying Aaron as if trying to understand how someone who had nothing could sing like that. When the audience rose to their feet, Aaron didn't even notice. His eyes were still closed, lost in a world he built through the music. When he finally opened them, he saw a sea of people standing, cheering, clapping as if he were already a champion. He lowered the microphone with trembling hands. For a moment, no one spoke. The judges just stared at him with a mixture of awe and confusion, as if trying to figure out how this simple, soft-spoken Filipino teenager just shook the entire theater. Howie was the first to break the silence. "You didn't come here with money or fancy clothes," he said, "but you came with something more valuable than all of that. You came with truth." Heidi added, "Your voice is a gift. It feels like a message straight from the heart." Sophia nodded, saying, "You made us feel you." Then Simon stood up slowly, walked toward the golden buzzer, and pressed it without hesitation. The blast of golden confetti took Aaron by surprise. He dropped to his knees, tears pouring down his face as the crowd screamed. The judges walked onto the stage to hug him, and Simon placed a gentle hand on his shoulder, telling him, "This is just the beginning." Back home, it was nearly 3 in the morning, but his entire community was awake, gathered around a small TV. When the confetti exploded, everyone screamed, cried, jumped, hugged each other. Aaron's mother fell to her knees, thanking God, while his father wiped tears he never admitted he had. The poor boy who used to sing on street corners had just won a moment that most people only dream of. In the days that followed, Aaron's life changed faster than he could understand. Interview requests, fan messages, news articles, he became a global sensation overnight. Everywhere he went, people recognized him as the Filipino Golden Buzzer Kid. But fame didn't erase the pressure pressing against his chest. During rehearsals for the live shows, Aaron struggled. He wanted to prove he deserved the golden buzzer, but the expectations felt too heavy. Sometimes he felt like that boy from the streets again, unsure, afraid of disappointing everyone who believed in him. Simon noticed the fear hiding behind Aaron's quiet smile. One afternoon, he called Aaron aside and spoke to him privately. "You don't need to be perfect," Simon said. "Your power is not perfection. Your power is emotion. Just be you." Aaron nodded, trying to absorb the encouragement, but doubt still clung to him. The stage was bigger now, the lights brighter, the world watching more closely. As the live show approached, Aaron lay awake in his small hotel room, listening to the city outside his window. He whispered a prayer, the same one he whispered back home, not asking to win, but asking for strength. And when he finally closed his eyes, he reminded himself of one truth: he didn't come this far just to be afraid. He came to sing. The night of the live show arrived with a kind of electricity Aaron had never felt before. Backstage, performers stretched, rehearsed lines, tuned instruments, prayed, panicked, and practiced their smiles for the cameras. Aaron stood quietly in a corner, holding his borrowed suit jacket close to his chest. It wasn't new, the sleeves were slightly long, and the shoulders didn't fit perfectly, but to him it felt like armor. He stared at the massive stage through the small opening of the curtains. The lights were blinding, the audience larger than anything he had ever imagined. For a moment, he questioned everything: whether he was good enough, whether he belonged, whether a boy from the streets of Manila could really stand among the world's best performers. When the stage manager called, "Aaron, you're up next," his heart slammed against his ribs. He walked toward the stage slowly, trying to control his breathing. His hands were cold, but the moment he stepped under the lights, something inside him clicked. He remembered his mother's warm smile, his father's comforting nod, his community's cheers at 3 a.m., the long journey from nothing to this moment. The orchestra began playing the introduction to his song, a powerful English ballad about rising from hardship and finding strength in the darkest places. Aaron closed his eyes, inhaled deeply, and began singing. His voice echoed through the massive theater with a richness that took everyone by surprise. It carried emotion that didn't need words to be understood. People backstage stopped what they were doing just to listen. Audience members leaned forward, feeling something heavy yet beautiful in his tone. As the song grew, Aaron poured his entire soul into every note, hitting high points that brought shivers through the room. On social media, reactions exploded the moment he opened his mouth. Viewers across America typing in real time how his voice made them cry, how they felt his story through his singing even without knowing every detail. When he reached the final note, a stunning, controlled, soaring pitch, the audience jumped to their feet in an instant. The applause was thunderous. Sophia wiped tears from under her eyes as she said, "You didn't just sing tonight, you reached into every heart in this room." Howie shook his head in amazement, saying, "You owned this stage like you were born for it." Heidi smiled warmly and added, "You are unforgettable." And then Simon, with that signature calm look of pride, said, "Tonight, you weren't just good. You were world class." Aaron's vote results came in later that night, revealing that he had earned one of the highest scoring percentages of the entire season. He advanced straight into the finals, and the world began calling him a favorite to win. Finals night felt like a dream wrapped in pressure. Aaron wasn't the same boy who arrived alone in Los Angeles with a single backpack, now he was a global sensation. But with every compliment came a fear: what if he disappointed the people who believed in him? What if this moment slipped away? While walking backstage, Aaron found a quiet spot, placed his hand over his heart, and whispered, "This is for my parents." He had chosen a song dedicated to them, a song about sacrifice, love, and the silent strength of families who go through life with so little yet give so much. As the stage lights dimmed and he stepped forward, the theater fell silent. A soft golden glow filled the stage like sunrise. Aaron began singing with a tenderness that made the audience hold their breath. His voice was not just strong, it was honest, vulnerable, and overflowing with emotion. Every lyric carried a piece of his journey, and every note felt like a thank you to the people who raised him. The ending crescendo rose like a wave, washing over the audience. When he finished, there was a moment of stillness, as if the entire room needed a second to recover. Then an eruption of applause and cheers filled the air. The judges stood again, emotional, proud, deeply moved. The final results moment was the longest of Aaron's life. He stood on stage, squeezing his shaking hands together as the host announced the runner-up, then paused. The crowd screamed his name even before it was said. When the host finally shouted, "The winner of America's Got Talent is Aaron," everything around him shattered into pure joy. Golden confetti rained from the ceiling. Aaron fell to his knees, crying harder than he ever had in his life. His parents watched from home, both crying, their hands over their hearts. The boy who once sang for coins on the street had just become the champion of America. He wasn't just a winner, he was proof that hope, talent,